Hello everyone, Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today I've invited Accolon for us to come in here and talk a little bit about World of Warcraft. Accolon, I've been watching a lot of your content over the last couple of days. Last couple of months even. I don't even remember exactly when your stuff started popping up in my recommended feed when I started doing like MMO content and whatnot. But introduce yourself, man.
I'm Accolon, for those of you that don't know. Rurikhan, by the way, thank you so much for asking me to come on. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. As I told you before the show starts, I've been reacting to your content as well. Like, my content suggestions is filled with just content creators that they want me to react to. So I've been reacting to your stuff as well. Although I did find out just before the stream, you're not even necessarily a main MMO content creator. Your main stuff is like Dark Souls, which is mind-boggling to me. I've been trying to get into different types of content, like making more channels and trying to get into. But anyways, I started making content about 5 years ago at this point. Started with World of Warcraft guides, like literally making Warlock guides, teaching people how to sort of beginner guides and then intermediate and advanced guides and stuff like that. Then I transitioned, I think quite naturally, transitioned into more lore-based stuff, since I've always been very fascinated with the story of video games. Like, I'm not really into the whole gameplay stuff. Like, I can play a game with dog shit gameplay as long as there's a good story. That's really the only thing I care about. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And now Final Fantasy, last night Star Wars: The Old Republic. So it's growing, I guess you could say.
This gives me a lot of like background as to why a lot of people in your audience are probably asking you to play Souls. Because Souls does not tell you a story up front. It kind of tells it through item descriptions and implications, and it leaves a certain amount of it open to interpretation. That's probably why people are like, oh man, he's into lore and stuff. He's going to love this soul stuff. And yeah, it's pretty wild.
People have been hounding me to play, especially Elden Ring, because they're like, dude, I want to hear you speculate about this game. And yeah, from what I've seen, it really is like playing a detective. If you care about story, you're going to want to read every single item description, and you're going to want to go to all the random places in the world and see if there's something to uncover there. Like I said, I'm gonna have to get into it at some point. But I'm not into games that require me to dodge and roll and do everything perfectly, like a Mortal Kombat sort of simulator kind of thing. I'm not really that kind of guy. I'm more sit back, relax, just listen to the story as it plays out.
just make a broken build. Like I've made a build right now that I'm basically almost one-shotting bosses with a shield. So it's like, it's not that you can break the game. It's not that hard.
There is a lot of freedom then, in other words.
Yes. There's tons of it. But for today, I wanted us to focus more on like WoW and stuff like that. But we can at some point talk more about Elden Ring for sure, because I can talk about Elden Ring for like years straight up, or even just like Souls in general.
I think there is crossover, considering the way in which games have now become multiplayer, specifically on the open world side of things. There's a lot of crossover, a lot of lessons that MMOs can learn from games like Elden Ring. WoW specifically can learn a hell of a lot of lessons, I think, from a game like Elden Ring.
A lesson I wish World of Warcraft would learn is from Monster Hunter, dude. And I'll bring that up at some point.
I've never played that. I've never played that, so I would love to hear what.
Yeah, but I'll bring that up because it's gonna blow your mind when I tell you how loot works in Monster Hunter. But I wanted to first ask you. You started creating content 5 years ago, but when did you start playing World of Warcraft? Because I kind of feel like we're a little bit similar in that regard. Like, I also started creating content around World of Warcraft like a long, long time ago. And it was because I had this 1 hour commute that I would have to drive to work. And I had nothing to do. So I had like a Mac laptop, and I would record myself in the car with a webcam. And it would just be me ranting. This was during Wrath of the Lich King, and I would just be straight up ranting about how overpowered Death Knights were. Because I was playing a protection warrior, and I'm like, dude, these Death Knights are so broken, man. What
You go into a battleground and the DK comes running up to you with Shadow Mourn and you're like, fuck my life. This is great.
But which expansion did you get started in?
All right, so I started, I'm probably not supposed to say this out loud, but I started illegally playing. Now, illegally just meaning...
It's perfectly fine. You were playing in private servers.
Well, no, actually not private servers.
Oh.
I played on my friend's dad's account.
Oh
like,
my
whenever
God.
he wasn't playing...
You did account sharing?
Yeah.
Cardinal sin?
To be fair, though, I was still a student at the time, and I wasn't able to convince my dad to buy me World of Warcraft. Yeah. So his dad sort of didn't always play because he's a doctor. He's usually busy. So whenever he was at work, I could sort of play on my own character. I never got far. This was all the way back in Classic. I got to like level 21.
Vanilla. Classic's a different thing.
Vanilla. Yeah, that's true. Played for I think 6 months in vanilla, and this is how taken I was with the game. I was level 21 within after 6 months of playing it, just because I was so fascinated with the world. The way, I didn't want to really level. I wanted to explore and I wanted to run around and just be there. Was really, and obviously didn't have like a ton of time to play because I would have to log off as soon as his dad wanted to play. But then I finally convinced my dad right at the end. Like TBC came out and I convinced my dad that, hey, maybe I can play WoW. And my dad was like, yeah, okay, fucking fine. You can play WoW. And so then I got my own account and I started playing. And basically from the beginning of TBC,
oh my God,
I've been playing WoW.
Like this story resonates so much because I wanted to play World of Warcraft and I was also a student. And my parents also said, You want what now? You want money every month to play a video game?
Yeah, exactly. My dad genuinely was like, wait, you don't pay games monthly? I'm like, no, you do actually. This is a new type of game, Dad. This isn't Baldur's Gate or some shit. This is online. My dad was very confused, and he also refused to give me his credit card details because he doesn't even now allow his credit card to be input on the internet for anything. That's even his own bank.
That's a very good thing to do, though. It's because I don't use my credit card either. Like we have this app in Portugal that creates like virtual credit cards. So even if somebody steals it, there's a limit to how much they can get out of you. So that's what I use because I also don't like putting my credit card anywhere. I'm very suspicious about that stuff.
I think the reason I'm less worried about it is like the second I see if anyone wanted to put a charge on my credit card, I would have to okay it on my mobile app with my banking app. So I would get a literal push notification saying, do you want this to go through or not? Like I have to do this for every single thing I purchase. And also to cancel, literally logging into the app and just hit stolen card, cancel card, done, right? So it's not difficult for me at least. Yeah. This is the one thing I should say. I live in South Africa, third world country. Our banks, though, I think is world class. Like our financial system is first world, if not probably future world almost.
Our banks in Portugal are dropping like flies, so I don't have a whole lot of confidence in them to begin with. So it's like, I'm even scared. Like the money I have in the bank is like I don't know if that's there, to be honest. Like one of these days I'm gonna go to get it, and it's like, oh, actually no, our bank went bankrupt, and it's like we got nothing for you, buddy.
Oh my God,
there's been thousands of people in Portugal that have been screwed over by this. So yeah,
is there? I know that's not actually the reason for the podcast, but I am very curious. I've never heard about this issue. Portugal doesn't seem to really register on the world scale. What's going on? Why is the banks... What's going on with the banks there?
Corruption. Same thing that you have in your country, corruption. There's just tons of corruption. It's just we're so small that on the world scale, people don't talk about us that much. We used to be big conquerors of the sea, discoverers and all this stuff, and now we're just like this tiny little... an annex of Spain almost. That's what most people see us like.
Oh, shit. Yeah. I mean... Yeah, from what I know, you're famous for football, hot woman, and that's about it. That's all I know.
Good beaches. You forgot good beaches. We have very good, but then again, you have good beaches in South Africa as well, so it probably does. It's not like you need to come to Portugal for beaches. So yeah,
I mean, we're literally on the ocean on 3 sides of my country, so it works. I think, even though I'm not a beach guy, I rarely go to the beach, and I live about 2 minutes away from the beach.
So many people jealous right now, but so the reason you're like. The story resonated a lot because my own parents didn't want it to get me money to play World of Warcraft, and I had to wait until I got a job. And then I got a job. One of the first things I did is like, okay, now I can play World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So I also started playing close to TBC. I played a little bit of vanilla. I was like level 50 something when TBC came out. I think it was 56. And then TBC was when I really started cutting my teeth and doing dungeons and raiding and all of this stuff. And then, started going forward. So you obviously really enjoyed the game because you, like you said, you were just like in that world. That's something that you don't really do nowadays in MMOs. The world is, you even described this in a video that I think I saw recently. It's kind of like a menu nowadays. Because like you go through it when you're leveling, and then once you're done leveling, it's you just like you sit in the capital and you hit buttons and you go.
Yeah, I mean, the world nowadays doesn't invite you to play in it. The world literally right now exists as a we have to have this world so that we're not just a menu clicker.
Yeah.
But the world, like, if you think about it, once you're done leveling, you may spend some time doing your world quests, but then also just the quota. So you're going to do what you must do because you have to do it. And then from there, where do most people spend their time? In one of the main cities, queuing up for dungeons. That's it. You're going into the menu, you're queuing up, you're going in, you're basically just clicking menus all the time.
Actually, during like Shadowlands, one of the things that I remember, I would actually have to go into the world because you weren't, back when I was playing, I don't know if they've changed this because I haven't kept up with some of the systems, but in order to do Mythic Plus, you still have to actually run to the dungeon. I think they made some kind of system where you don't have to do that anymore. I'm not sure. Didn't they put like teleports or something?
I mean, no, you still have to run to the dungeon. The issue is with flying, well, you just literally fly to the entrance. And also,
I didn't play enough to get flying in Shadowlands.
True.
So we have to actually run through.
I quit shortly after I got flying again. So I played for about 3 months into like the start of Shadowlands. Got very, very annoyed at the game, specifically on the back of BFA. Because in BFA, I was livid with the game's direction. Like, I made so many videos saying Ian Hazicost is an asshole. The dude doesn't know what he's doing. And I realized that could put a lot of people off, and I am sorry about that. I'm South African. We're crass as fuck.
Here's the thing though. Like, I think that still qualifies us for potentially eventually getting an interview with Ian because Asmongold got one, and nobody at Blizzard apparently likes him.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm never gonna get an interview with Ian Hazicost. To be fair though, he's not even the guy I want an interview with. If I were to get any interview, it would be with Steve Denuser, because I've got much bigger gripes to grind with that guy than with Ian. But no, I mean, it's nothing personal. Like, when I'm South African, so when I call someone an asshole or even the bigger C word, we don't, it's not a personal attack. It's more just like, I'm really upset with you, and I'm going to show that now. But, most people in the world don't see it that way. So
people are a little bit too sensitive nowadays. It's like it's very hard for you to criticize anybody, and everybody's like, oh, so that means you're deadly enemies. Like, if you disagree with someone. Like, for instance, I have a good friend of mine that we talk all the time. And I remember at one point, he had one view on a subject. I don't even remember. I think it has something to do with, like, modding a save file. Because, like, in Monster Hunter Rise, for instance, which is a game that came out first on Switch, then on PC, if you played it on Switch and then, they released it on PC afterwards, some people are like, oh, I'm going to mod this save file on PC to give me, more stuff and whatnot. And I was like, well, I don't like that. and this other friend of mine, well, I disagree. I'm going to do that. And people thought that we were upset at one another. It's like, no, we just have different opinions. It's like, who cares? But nowadays, it seems like whenever you disagree with someone, oh, you're going to war. There's drama. There's beef. I mean, come on.
The issue is we live in an era now where so many people have a very hard line on their own opinion, not recognizing that your opinion is really just your opinion.
Yeah.
It's not like, unless you can absolutely unobjectively prove or objectively prove that your opinion is the correct one, it is just an opinion, and you should technically not be married to those things. And I think it's basically sort of an outflow of politics right now. The world seems to be fucked when it comes to politics. No one can agree. I mean, I have friends that literally span the political spectrum. I don't give two fucks. Like, whether you vote, whatever, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But I know people who will never be friends with X, Y, or Z, right? Just because those are the evil people. And I say, well, actually, you might be the evil people, but never mind. We'll just go, because even the Nazis thought that they were doing the right thing at the time. So I'm not into the whole, making, like, saying I'm correct on something. And it's the same with video games. I'm open to saying I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong about WoW.
Yeah.
I don't think World of Warcraft is where it needs to be. But
it's not.
It is true. So here's my problem with the gaming community, specifically the WoW community right now. They seem to have lost all touch with reality when it comes to anything. When you're saying anything negative about WoW, people lose their shit because they're like, oh my God, you're just always negative. They seem to have like completely lost track with what things like constructive criticism means. Because nowadays, constructive criticism to the WoW crowd means when you criticize the game, you also have to say 3 or 4 positive things about the game. It's like, that's not what constructive criticism is. Constructive criticism means you criticized and then you provided an alternative way of doing it that would render the criticism null and void. Like, I don't have to praise the game 5 times in order to criticize it once. That's not how that works. But people want that. They want you to be super positive. And I think it's because, I don't want to waste your time by just mouthing off here and running my mouth so much. But
that's the whole point of a podcast, though.
Well, yeah, but I will talk about this forever if you don't stop me. So please jump in if you feel like I'm going too far into one direction. But I do believe, I have a theory as to why this is. Blizzard did something that no other company has ever been able to do. Like, 0 companies have ever been able to do this. Maybe with the exception of Dark Souls. Even then, Dark Souls is a game that is played by very hardcore gamers. But it's gamers.
Not just, but keep going.
No, but I mean in terms of its niche core audience, it's gamers. And I don't know if there's many people who only play Dark Souls games. It's like they don't play anything else.
There's quite a few.
Would you say that's the majority, though? Because I don't think the majority is like...
You mean the majority of the people who play Dark Souls only play Dark Souls?
Let me explain it this way.
In my estimate, I would argue that about 60% of the people that are really into Dark Souls mostly only enjoy Dark Souls, give or take. But this is like, it's like anything, right? This is from me reading my comment sections and stuff like that. Yeah, Dark Souls games.
Dark Souls games. So it's basically Elden Ring, Sekiro.
Yes.
Sekiro, dying twice something.
Shadows Die
There's
twice.
the other one. What's the other one that's also sort of a Dark Souls kind of game?
So there's Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring. Yeah, those.
I heard there was another game.
Neo? Is it Neo?
No.
Because Neo is not from Software.
No, I'm trying to... So the game specifically that I'm talking about now isn't a From Software game.
It's not a From Software game. Lords of the Fallen?
It's also like a Souls kind of game. There's trying to be a Souls game.
Tons of them. So like one of the most popular ones recently is Neo, but there's Neo, there's Lords of the Fallen, there's The Surge, there's tons of them. There's too many for me to even keep
The Surge,
track.
that's the one. The Surge, that's the one. That's the one that was on my mind. I didn't I just remember like people said, if you like Souls games, it's kind of all right. It's not the worst of the bunch, and apparently it's a little bit easier than some of the Souls games. So someone told me it's a kind of a good thing to get into, not to finish, but to see if you would like games like that.
No,
like, give it a go.
I'd completely disagree with that statement. It's like, if you want to figure out if you like Souls or not, you should play one of the Souls games. Not to mention that the statement of Surge being easier than Souls, I would also disagree, because all of these games are about knowledge. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say, oh, it's hard execution. No. It's all about knowledge. Like, for instance, the knowledge that you put up your shield, it's an active block. So you put up your shield, but you have to lower it when you're not getting attacked or your stamina won't regen. It's like, just knowing that will instantly make you like 30% better as a player. The fact that you need to lower your shield from time to time. So it's like, it's just about knowledge. And the more you have this knowledge, like knowledge on how to do a backstab, the moment you learn how to do backstabs, game becomes, no joke, 60% easier.
Yeah.
Just knowing how to do a backstab.
It's a repetition game, right?
Yeah.
It's what games are supposed to be. It's what MMOs are. It's repetition. You keep doing it until you know it, and then you know it. Yeah. And once you know it, you can do it multiple times. The second playthrough is always going to be easier than the first playthrough because you've already learned how to do things. My point, though, is World of Warcraft managed to do something that no other game has ever been able to do. It converted a bunch of non-gamers into gamers.
Yeah.
And I call these people WoW gamers or wowers during stream, because they're not gamers. These people aren't gamers. They don't even know what Steam is. They've never installed Steam. They don't even have a Steam account. They just
know the Battle.net launcher.
They know the Battle.net launcher. These, by the way, are the same people that blew their lids when Call of Duty first came to the BNet launcher.
They didn't like it?
They were very angry. No, there was like a group of people that were like, this is for World of Warcraft. Get the fuck off here. It's like, dude, you realize that it's not even just World of Warcraft on the launcher. And but I can live with Overwatch being, I don't want Call of Duty.
I can live with StarCraft. Call of Duty, that's taking it too far.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you realize you just don't have to click on it if you don't want to. Like, just don't click on the game if you don't want to. But yeah, so people were, like, these are people who have never played another game in their lives. They basically, because Warcraft was a phenomenon. Like, Warcraft 3 launched and it sold millions of copies. It was such a big game that for a lot of people that sort of maybe were in college and gave it a try, they came to give World of Warcraft a try. And it managed to convince these players that this is the game. So the issue for these people is when you attack World of Warcraft, you're in some ways attacking them. You're attacking their very identity. Because if you attack WoW for me, well, okay. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. You could attack my favorite game of all time, Mass Effect, and I'd be like, all right.
Here's the thing that I have with that type of stuff is like, it all depends on whether or not the criticism is valid. Because like, I will defend games from time to time from certain criticisms that I'm like, okay, so look, like for instance, Elden Ring. If anybody comes in and tells me, oh my God, the frame rate of this game is ass. It's like, you're right. It's like, there's nothing to say. 60, you're absolutely correct. It's like, what?
It's locked at 60, right?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't played it on my new monitor, so I don't know if it goes above 60, but I think it is locked at 60. But beyond that, it's got really bad optimization issues on PC. So yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like,
optimization, open world. I'm a Cyberpunk player as well. I know what you mean.
So,
not a problem.
So it's like there's plenty of problems to criticize in certain things that I agree with. Like, okay, they reutilized some of these bosses maybe a little bit too much. Yeah, that's fair. But if somebody comes in and they're like, this game needs like a quest tracker, I'm like, no. Okay. You're insane. It just doesn't work like that. See, that's
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
If someone came to me and they were like, Mass Effect is great, but the story is too long.
Let's put it like this. If I was to come up to you and I was like, okay, World of Warcraft's art is ass.
Yeah. I would be like, no.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's like,
No.
it's not real. I don't think that's a fair thing to say, right? Because
No,
I have
you're
massive
correct,
respect for World of Warcraft's art. As a matter of fact, I've said multiple times, and like, look, this team is, one of these days, somebody needs to go into like the systems, like the teams that is developing systems. Someone from the art department should go in there and just be like, man, my back is hurting. Must be from carrying all this dead weight in this goddamn department.
I mean, the truth is the art department is surreal. And a lot of people don't realize that the art in WoW is on purpose. I actually spoke to Terran Gregory, who's, I don't know if people know, but he's the guy that makes all the cinematics happen in World of Warcraft. I had him on Discord. This was at the beginning of Shadowlands. I don't think he's in my Discord anymore. I've been, I think, too angry for him to remain there.
Yeah.
But, you know, we hung out 2 nights. I think for 2 nights we played Valheim together, and we had discussions about WoW and what exactly. And it is absolutely a choice. Like the graphics that they have in WoW, the art direction of the game, it's 100% choice. That their engine can handle. They can make the game look Unreal Engine 5-esque if they wanted to. They just don't want to. They like the art style, and I agree. It's fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, it really inspires a sense of fantasy that I don't think a lot of people give WoW enough credit for things like this. So whilst I do very much criticize World of Warcraft quite a lot, there are things that I absolutely give them kudos for. I'm playing Star Wars: The Old Republic for the first time last night, and one thing that comes, it immediately hits me in the face.
That hero engine, dude.
I mean, the engine is fucking shit.
Yes.
But even more than that, every single one of the races and characters has the exact same running animation. They all run exactly the same. And I think back always to World of Warcraft, and it's like, orcs have a unique running animation. Trolls have a unique running animation. And the reason is, all other games use a form of motion capture. WoW's animations is completely animated.
Yeah,
like
it's manual.
they run because they were built to run that way. And it's fantasy inducing. Like when you see an orc running, even if it's from far away, just by the run, you know it's an orc.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's an orc running right there. You know, and things like that I don't think people give WoW enough credit for. But back to your original sort of like what we started talking about, the open world issue is because World of Warcraft is so insulated, because it has so many gamers that is only like WoW gamers. They've never played anything else. They sort of simply mature with whatever WoW is now. So they just adapt to whatever World of Warcraft is now. They have literally zero other frame of reference when it comes to other games. And it's specifically true whenever I hear people going, oh yeah, I'm not just a WoW gamer. I tried Final Fantasy 14. I got to level 10. It's a fucking shit game. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I guess you really tried, you know.
Level 10, huh? Damn.
Yeah, all the way.
Jesus.
Like, you played for about an hour.
Must have been hard.
Yeah. So, you know, it sucks as a content creator, which is one of the reasons I'm sort of branching into other MMOs as well.
Yeah.
Because as a content creator, I want to have that freedom to criticize the game when I don't think that the game deserves to be praised. The community, on the other hand, does not want you criticizing the game because, well, now you're attacking me. This is my game. How dare you say bad things about me and my game? And it's like, well, if we don't,
see that's an interesting thing that you said right there, which is, how dare you say bad things about me and my game? That's how they interpret it. It's like, we ain't talking about you. But that's the way that they look at it. They're like, how dare you say these things about me? It's like, we're not talking about you. We're talking about the game.
Yeah, I'm legitimately not attacking you. I'm attacking your video game.
Yeah.
But since you and your video game is basically the same thing, I have no freedom to say what I want to say about the game. And I am genuinely trying to make the game better.
Yeah.
I know people don't think that. I think people think negative clicks is what I'm after. Yeah. Which is one of the things that pisses me off so much, because whenever you have people that aren't YouTubers, that don't know shit about content creation, running their mouth about what they think content creators are doing. And it's just sort of like, well, you clearly don't know because you've clearly never done it.
Here's the interesting thing. There is something to negative clicks and stuff like that. You can kind of like build a channel around it. But it's not necessarily something that it's not something that I find interesting. So to give an idea, right?
Boring.
Lost Ark came out recently, and I made like maybe 3 videos where I criticized the fact that I thought the game was grossly pay to win, and I got tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Like I stopped talking about it pretty much. I made like my 3 videos, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't even want to talk about it. Boom, done. So it's like the fact that that, for instance, I still make videos talking about World of Warcraft should tell you I still care about this game. I would like this game to eventually one day be good again.
Yeah.
But it's like I can't say good things about it because, you know, the game's not in a good state. And I don't understand how people can defend that. It's weird.
The thing with negative clicks, so I'm not saying that you can't make a living off of negative clicks. Of course you can. But it is a very short-term career trajectory.
Keemstar would beg to disagree.
Well, the thing with Keemstar is he does negative clicks on all things, right? So he's got a very wide range. So people love negative clicks. The thing is, if I make negative click videos of WoW, my channel will die within 6 months. Because the problem is, in the beginning, there's a lot of angry people that love the angry messaging around World of Warcraft. And they're like, oh my God, yes, we're going to click on every single one of your videos. But then after about 2-3 months, a lot of those people go, well, you know, I'm done with WoW now. I'm just going to leave because I don't want to watch this anymore because I don't replay it anymore. So their anger have now subsided. They've left the game. So your audience gets smaller. Now you keep screaming because this is now how you make your money. The issue is your community has sort of gone, yeah, okay, cool. I'm done with the game now, bro, because they don't have any financial incentive to stick around.
Yeah.
Right? They're annoyed with the game, but then they left the game and it's all good. So you kind of have an option. If you want to keep being negative, you have to go to sort of like Az from Heels versus Babyface. So you embrace the negativity and you basically start making videos about all things negative. Because his channel also sort of got birthed out of negative clicks for WoW. And then sort of became, it's a beast on its own, so to speak. I never did that. My negativity was always only focused on WoW. Because I don't want a negative channel.
Yeah.
What I want is a better WoW. You know? That's it. That's all I care about is a better WoW.
We just want the game to eventually be good. And this is interesting because I've been told in my comments when we start arguing about these things and about how things used to be better back in like older World of Warcraft, a lot of people will bring out the fact, okay, so the game is just not for you anymore. And I've always been wondering, well, who is the game for then, considering that they've been bleeding subscribers nonstop, and the more it keeps moving in this direction that it's going, it seems that the more subscribers it keeps bleeding, with the exception of when it releases an expansion, which everybody comes back for 1 month and then everybody leaves again.
I mean, to be fair, though, that's not actually like even a defense anymore, considering that with the launch of every new expansion, the game is actually doing worse over time, with the exception, I think, of Shadowlands, which became, so the game was on a marked downward trajectory even with launches. Ever since Cataclysm, really, every single launch was smaller than the Cataclysm launch and smaller than the launch just before it. So Mist of Pandaria was smaller than the Cataclysm launch. World of Draenor was smaller than the Mist of Pandaria launch, and so on and so forth. Then Shadowlands came out because it was legitimately the game that promised to be sort of a return to a better WoW. And, it failed shortly after its launch. So it showed that there's still life in the old goal. Like, there's still gamers that really want to play WoW, but they're not currently having a shit ton of fun in World of Warcraft. I think Dragonflight sales are going to be quite bad. Because I think a lot of people are now going into it a bit more like, we'll see. what's going to happen here. So I think Dragonflight is going to have to be one of those expansions that starts really slow and then picks up speed as it sort of takes off and becomes its own little thing.
That's like a best case scenario, assuming that they actually deliver on the things that they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm always willing to assume the best. So I'm always willing to give benefit of the doubt.
I'm not at this point.
There's a reason why I'm willing to do that for WoW, specifically with Dragonflight. Have you listened to all of the interviews that Ian did?
I mean, I've listened to some of them. I don't think I listened to all of them, but I've listened to the Asmongold one. I've listened to the Hazelnutty one, and I've listened to a lot of content from Belilar and you.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ian, as he costas in his interviews, for the first time ever, is actually admitting that they made mistakes. He's actually not just admitting that they made mistakes, but correctly highlighting the mistakes that they have made.
I don't know. I got a little bit upset when like Asmongold asked him about the lessons that he learned from Shadowlands, and he makes a joke about covenants, and I'm just like, so you thought that was funny? You know, well, I'm thinking about, you think this is a joke? It's like, what? See,
the reason I get it, and I realized that a lot of Europeans felt almost personally offended by that joke. And I think that's because so sarcasm is
no, I understood. I understood the sarcasm, but it's just like, I feel like there's a time and a place. Like we right now, right? We're kind of neutral, even on friendly terms, right? So if I use sarcasm with you, it's a funny thing. But it's like, we're not necessarily at this point, especially after, BFA, Shadowlands, we're not necessarily on the best of terms with Ian. So his sarcasm is not necessarily going to land in an effective way, I feel like. I don't feel like this is something you should be joking about because you've messed. It's almost like, imagine if, I don't know, like, with the Amber Heard trial, I just got into my mind. Imagine if I go out to your house and I take a shit on your living room and then I make a joke about it. It's not going to be very funny, is it?
No, clearly not. But, okay, first of all, I always appreciate sarcasm, no matter, like, especially untimely sarcasm is just brilliant for me. It's just second to innuendos. Like, anything innuendo is my favorite thing in the world. But I also appreciate the psychological effect that Ian was having there. This guy came into what he perceived as an incredibly hostile environment. Remember, Asmongold is not the nicest guy when it comes to Ian and World of Warcraft.
But I feel like when he does interviews, I've never seen Asmongold like go nasty on an interview, right? So I don't think
also, I mean, Asmongold has never interviewed Ian.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean, and remember also, Ian comes from this world right now where it is public knowledge that Blizzard hates Asmongold.
Yeah.
Right? It's public knowledge. So Ian knows this walking into this interview. He also knows that Asmongold is so unhappy with World of Warcraft that Asmongold led the biggest exodus from World of Warcraft in the history of the game ever.
Yep.
Right? So for Ian, this is an incredibly stressful situation. And he walks into it, and the first question Asmongold asks him is one that clearly sets up the covenants and the systems of Shadowlands. And I think he made a joke to try and calm himself, but also to show Asmongold that, listen, I'm not here to combat you. I'm not here to pussyfoot around the issues. I will answer your questions honestly. I will basically be here to meet you in the middle of the road, as it were. So I appreciated his answer, I think, because I understood the situation that he was in. It was stressful. It was not necessarily the most fun situation for him to be in.
One of the things that I've brought up in previous videos is, like, I feel that Blizzard needs to get a little bit more grounded with the way that they approach things. I mean, this is the thing that I'm about to talk about is never going to happen, not in a million years. But like, if you think about it, for instance, right, I think Blizzard realizes, at least the people in charge, they realize they fucked up with BFA and Shadowlands. I think that's pretty obvious, right? Yeah. So they realize they have a problem, particularly with Shadowlands and the way that things have been going. and the content drought that happened and all of that.
Yep.
So like if you look and you draw a parallel with Final Fantasy XIV, and you look at, for instance, the launch of Endwalker, what happened in the launch of Endwalker? Endwalker launched, and for starters, it was delayed 2 weeks. First thing, developer comes out and he's like, I'm sorry, bows to everybody, apologizes to everybody. 2 weeks delay. Okay, game comes out, first week, tons of people can't log into the game at all. He's like, I'm sorry, here's 7 days where you don't have to pay to play the game. And then next week, we still haven't able to fix this. I'm sorry, here's 14 more days. That's 21 days at the launch of the expansion, throughout which people could basically experience the entirety of the MSQ and leave for free. Well, not for free because you still have to pay for the expansion, whatever. But like no monthly fee is what I'm saying. And I kind of feel like that would have been something that Blizzard could have had that would have been a bit of an easy win, but they're never going to do this, which would have been like, okay, look, there's a content drought. We can't fix this because COVID, because whatever. You can play the game for free. Like, imagine them just giving out like a free month of World of Warcraft. How would that land towards that community? It would buy tons of goodwill. But instead, what do? They're like, oh, here's a $25 mount. Here's this cat with big eyes. It's like, what the fuck, dude? What are you doing?
I mean, that's probably the most disgusting 6-month mount. Like, I'm not a fan of the 6-month mounts in the best of times. But that's probably the most disgusting one to date. Because at the time of launching the 6-month mount, Blizzard knew that there was going to be a 9-month content drought. They fucking knew that there was going to be no content. And they purposefully released a 6-month mount to tie people in for 6 months to a game that is otherwise basically dead. There's nothing coming out for the next 6 months. So that was absolutely disgusting. The problem is that those kinds of decisions, so here's where Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft differ. Yoshi P is one of the board members of Squeenix, so he sits on the board, and when he took on the role as the director and producer of Final Fantasy XIV, he effectively made it very clear that he owns Final Fantasy XIV. So no decisions are made without his express say-so. If the presidents of Squeenix have no say on what happens within FF14, which is why, you know, the CEO of Squeenix now is very into NFTs, and Yoshi P just straight up said there won't be NFTs in FF14. Done and dusted. That's it. That's the end of the fucking discussion. Ian doesn't have that. World of Warcraft is run by Bobby Kotick. He owns the fucking place. So Ian can't promise us 30 days of game time. Bobby will lose his shit if you give shit away for free. I kind of feel like there needs to be someone at Blizzard that is able to do those things, that is able to directly communicate with the community and, you know, have the power. Like, I feel like that person should be, who's the guy? I forget his name. The guy who's leading Blizzard right now, Mike Ibarra. I feel like Mike Ibarra should be the one that should take a role like that. And he'd be like, okay, guys, look, there's been problems. Here's how we're going to make this right for you. But they never do that. They never do right by their player base. And I feel like that is a serious problem. And the community can't keep just like accepting this. Like, it only goes, the fact that people are already, you know, lining up to purchase the expansion and whatnot. Like, I think it is way too soon for that. It is way too soon. You see, the problem is, again, we go back to the wowers. Yeah. Blizzard right now, look, Blizzard's own arrogance is astounding at times. But the truth is, they don't have to apologize, and they know it. Because they know at the end of the day, they have a core base community that will be there for everything. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how it is. When they do something, that community will be there. They will log in no matter what. So why would they apologize? You know, Final Fantasy XIV, on the other hand, even though I would argue it has a much larger core audience, the issue that Final Fantasy has is it will always, in its heart, be the little brother trying to overtake the big brother. Like at its core, it's always going to fight this fight of we want to be the next WoW, but we're not maybe quite there yet.
I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I believe that I've seen in a video, I think it must have been a Zeppla video. She said, and I don't know where she got this information, but Zeppla is usually pretty well informed when it comes to 14, so I'll take her at her word. But she said something like, the game was designed to function with 300,000 players. So it's like, they don't need to overtake WoW. Would they like to? Maybe, but I don't think they necessarily have to. They can just be pretty successful in their niche, which I find to be different from WoW. You could realistically play the MSQ of 14 whenever it comes out, and then, you know, do the raids and whatnot, because you can get into maintenance mode in 14 like that when an expansion comes out. Like, it took me maybe 2 weeks, and that was not even hardcore going at it. And, you know, then you're in maintenance mode, and you can just like, oh, raids are coming out, I'm going to do the raid like once a week, and then you hop out. So you could realistically even play both games and still dedicate more time to World of Warcraft and still be fine.
Yeah.
And I think that they're happy with that being the way that they do things, which is you come in, you play, you come back next patch. Like, cancel your sub, whatever, come back next patch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disputing that at all. It's actually Yoshi P that said this.
Yeah.
That's where she got the information from. Yoshi P explained this to Asmongold and Rich during their interview, where he was like, you know, they want a game that people can play whenever they have the time, but if they don't have time, they don't have to play. Or if they're done with everything, they can leave. They sort of take a very different approach to World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft wants to tie you into the grind, whereas FF14 basically goes, look, if you just want to raid, it's going to take you maybe a month to be fully geared, maybe 8 weeks at the most to be fully geared. And then you can leave because you've done the raid, you've got the gear, come back when the next raid launches. But we have a shit ton of other activities that you could go play if you choose to do so. So we can keep you busy, literally day in, day out with content, but only if you want to. Like, if you don't care about that, that's fine with us. Do whatever you need to do whatever you like, you know, and that's the end of it.
That's a very healthy approach.
It is, obviously, and I think that's the approach that FFO, like World of Warcraft, should be taking, and I think it's what they're trying to do in Dragonflight. The point I was making more is every single, like, if you're a content creator, would you rather be PewDiePie or be Accolon? You'd rather be PewDiePie. Everyone wants to be PewDiePie, right? At the end of the day,
I actually don't. I'd rather
you don't.
I don't want to be
100
PewDiePie.
million subscribers.
No, I don't. It's too much. It's too much pressure, to be honest. I've never want. I'll tell you right now. When I started creating content, my initial goal was 10,000 subs, because when I started making content, 10,000 subs. If you had 10,000 subs, like, that was about big enough. But, you know, the goalposts have shifted, and, you know, numbers have gone freaking astronomical on YouTube. So then my objective became, okay, now I just want to be 100,000. But again, the goalposts have shifted. My ideal one now would be about 500,000, give or take, because it's about enough that you can create whatever content you want without being necessarily dependent on, like, no, I have to create content to serve this specific niche, because, you know, if you don't, then you don't get views. I just want to be able to create whatever content I want and not necessarily be super dependent on having to serve a specific niche. That's the size that I want to be. So not 100 million subs. No, I don't want that. I really don't. It's too much hassle.
See, my goals is 100 million, although I know I'll never get there, but
never say never.
What I'm trying to do, the reason I have that goal for myself is more a case of whenever I go and sit down and I write a script and I make my video, I'm always thinking about this one needs to be better than the last one. You know, so that's sort of why I have that goal. It's not really because I care in getting there. It's more just a case of my goal is to be the best at what I do. And for that to happen, I need to do better with every single one of my videos. So the script has to be more informative. It has to be better edited. So me and my editor talk about this a lot. Every single video has to be better than the last one. Because I want to be able to say eventually I'm the best at doing WoW speculation content, or even speculation content in general. And I think that's true for someone like Yoshi P. He would like to be able to say, we are the best MMO on the market. And right now they can say that because they are.
Yeah.
I think objectively, Final Fantasy is the best MMO on the market right now. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of things to do in FF14 that they haven't even experienced yet. So that's sort of where I was coming from. It's always going to have that little brother syndrome where it can't just take its audience for granted because its audience is not WoW's audience. It doesn't have the 10 million active players every single month, you know, and WoW doesn't have that anymore, but it used to have that. So it is still treating, and maybe it's an East-West thing, you know. We've been speaking about this a lot during the live streams. There's a definite difference between how the East handles things, like companies in the East and companies in the West. It's like Western companies refuse to admit any fault whatsoever. Like they'll go down swinging as long as they don't have to admit that they were wrong. Whereas Eastern companies feel far more almost compelled to apologize when they fucked up. Like, just go, I'm sorry. Like, I'm surprised during the last producer letter, Yoshi P apologized to the player base for taking 2 weeks extra on every single patch. So they asked players if they're going to be 3 months and 2 weeks between patches rather than just the 3 months. And then immediately goes on to apologize. And I'm like, bro, it's 2 weeks. Who gives a fuck? Like, if you need 2 more weeks, that's fine. Like, no one cares really. But he does that. Why? Because there's genuine respect, I believe, there for the people that's playing the game.
But see, that I feel like is the main difference, right? I feel like World of Warcraft does not respect its player base, which I feel is a definitive problem. Like, they need to respect the player base and they need to respect the player's time, which is something that they definitely don't do. I'm actually curious about something. So you started in vanilla. When did you first start losing interest? Because I'm assuming there was a point at which we're like, okay, this is some bullshit.
Yeah. All right. So I played. I loved all of it. There was a short stint during Mr. Pandaria that I really didn't like the game, but that's sort of more real life stuff. So I just broke up with my girlfriend, whom I met through World of Warcraft. We raided together. We did a bunch of shit together. We basically met because we were like one of the only 20 or 25 people all the way back in the day on Ragnaros being hardcore raiders. So she joined my guild because she wanted to be in. We were round first at the time. So she was a hardcore rogue and she wanted to join. And so we met and we started dating. And then we broke up right at the end of Cataclysm. So I went into Mr. Pandaria. Yeah. Really not interested because a lot of what I played for was gone. All my friends had left in Mr. Pandaria as well. Like, all my friends that played with me in Cataclysm had fucked off. So I was basically alone in Mr. Pandaria again. And I just finished college and started working. So, you know, coming home every night, having to do all those dailies. I no longer have my girlfriend. By the way, it was my choice to break up, so I can't even say that it was that bitch that destroyed it. Yeah. I broke up with her, and she isn't a bitch. But anyway, so, you know, I just fell out of love with the game for a while, came back right at the end of Miss Pandaria, fell right back in love with the game, played all throughout WoD, all throughout Legion. It was BFA. BFA was the breaking moment for me. Yeah. Because this, I feel like, BFA was the moment that the lack of real creativity in World of Warcraft started shining through, where the trade mill became incredibly noticeable, right? This continuous just trade mill that they want to keep you on, this conveyor belt of content where you have to keep going, otherwise you fall behind. And I just couldn't do it. I just genuinely felt like, dude, no. I don't have the time for this. I'm making videos. I'm streaming. I don't have the time to also then turn this into a second job. Because just to be clear, my streams are actually just chatting streams.
Yeah, exactly.
I do 2.5, 3 hours of just chatting, and then I'll play a game. But even playing the game is sort of like background noise.
Yeah.
I just have the game on so that we're doing something whilst just chatting. So I don't want to spend that time doing dailies in World of Warcraft and fucking trying to get my Azerite armor, max level on the neck and shit like that. So I think that was the moment that I first started to realize there's something deeply wrong with World of Warcraft and the design philosophy around the game. Also because I went from being a very hardcore raider in Legion to no raiding in PFA. So suddenly the lack of content for casual players became a serious issue. Because if you're a raider, World of Warcraft is great.
You're working on the raids, basically, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and we would raid 4, 5, 6 nights a week sometimes, alt raids and stuff like that. To be fair, though, I didn't partake in all of those alt raids. I would do my 3, 4 nights of raiding a week, and then I would play other games whilst I was waiting for the raids. But that sort of filled that niche.
Yeah.
Now that those nights were gone, suddenly I started to realize, but hold on, the game has nothing else. If you're not raiding and you don't give a fuck about mounts or pets, there really is nothing in this game. Like, it has nothing. It's an empty shell. Because I don't give a shit about transmog. I don't give a shit about mounts and pets. I couldn't care less. I don't care about gear, even. I like raiding because I enjoy the puzzle. I want something that's fun. So when I go into Final Fantasy and I do the deep dungeons or chocobo racing, it's my addiction. That's what I want, I want something that gives me a reason to waste my time. And WoW just doesn't have that right now. It doesn't have that reason. I'm hoping Dragonriding changes that, by the way. Because it looks cool. I know it's a Guild Wars 2 thing, and I don't give a fuck that they borrowed it from Guild Wars 2. It looks cool. I want to ride a dragon.
So when it comes to Dragonriding, that's actually something that I've been super excited for when they first announced it. Because one of the things that I've said multiple times, not just with MMOs, but games in general, is that a lot of developers actually don't pay attention to traversal. They don't realize that in order for someone to invest a significant amount of time in a world, you need to actually enjoy the process of navigating that world. So like an example that I always like to bring up, you're probably not going to be familiar with this at all, is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, this is a game for the Wii U, so you have no idea. Most people have no idea what Xenoblade Chronicles X is. But basically, it's actually in a lot of ways, Xenoblade plays kind of like an MMO. So you have your characters, you play with a gamepad, but you have like abilities on a bar, and then you cycle through those abilities with the D-pad, and you press a button, and your character does a skill. And then he also auto attacks at the same time. So it's pretty much like an MMO.
Yeah.
But it's a JRPG. And so the way that they did Xenoblade Chronicles X, like there's a huge world for you to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't gate you. Like there might be a couple of like super high level areas that's like, okay, you need to unlock a certain step of the story. But for the most of the map, they don't gate you at all. It's like, hey, you want to see what that monster over there that's level 80 looks like and you're level 10? Go right ahead. If you get too close, he'll kill you. It's that simple. So you do what you want. So, but the cool thing that they did is also your characters move ridiculously fast throughout their world. Okay. And the justification they give you is like, oh, you're controlling like these droid clones or some bullshit, whatever. So your characters move really fast. And then on top of it, they jump really high. And so what does that make? That makes it that it's really fun for you to traverse. You eventually you even unlock flying in that game. So you can fly at some points. But even just the fact of running through the world and figuring out ways to reach areas that you haven't unlocked through the story, it's possible. Because like they'll place, for instance, giant mushrooms and you look at it and you're like, I can jump so high. I can probably jump up these mushrooms and go to this area that I'm not supposed to be in. And it's fantastic to explore because you're just curious. And if the world looks good, which it did, you're just like, dude, I just want to go over there and see what's there. Doesn't even matter if I can't kill anything. I just want to go there and see it. And they let you do that. They let you go crazy with exploration. And it was one of my favorite experiences ever because traversal is fun. Another example, Gravity Rush. You've ever heard of Gravity Rush?
No.
So you know that video games usually are not particularly good at doing flying. Like, for instance, MMO flying, I think fucking sucks in most games. It just sucks because I think Ian even described it. It's basically swimming on air. You're just swimming on the air and that's it. Not interesting at all. So the way the Gravity Rush worked is you would have a gravity gauge and you would press a button and your character would start floating. And then you would aim your camera, press the same button again, your character would start falling in that direction. So they're not actually flying, they're falling. And then once they get there, doesn't matter which orientation your camera's in, that's the gravity direction for a certain amount of time. And that would be how you would navigate. You're not really flying, you're falling in style. And that made it super different. So it's like Xenoblade Chronicles X and Gravity Rush, fantastic fucking traversals. It was always a pleasure to run around in those worlds. But then you have other games like a Ubisoft game. It's like, okay, you can run, and then you can ride a horse. Even Elden Ring does stuff with the horse where like, okay, you got these spirit springs where the horse jumps up really high, so you'll want to find those. And the horse moves maybe unreasonably fast when you compare it to any other open world game. Good. So that I can get to the places that I want faster, so that I can explore. And then people are like, then you can run away from monsters and not be penalized. Why would I want to be penalized? I'm playing a video game. I don't care.
So that last thing you just said there is so fucking true. So many games try to focus on the penalties in order to keep people playing the game the way that the developers envision the game to be played. And that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Because no matter how you think players are going to play your game, players are going to find their own way to play the game. And your job as a developer is to give as many players as possible the tools to play the game that they want to play. Regardless of how you think the game should optimally be played. That's not important. So I look at games specifically, because games, people love to throw around the word World of Warcraft has too many systems. And it's like, dude, if we're not going to define what a system is, this is a conversation that doesn't matter. Because all things are systems. There's like literally not a single thing that isn't a system in a video game, right? So I look at systems as additive or deductive systems. So you have systems that add to the game, and then you have systems that deduct from the game. And the perfect game is a game where it has more systems that add to the game than what it has systems that deduct from the game. Now, it can sound strange, because there are systems that you might think, well, this adds something to the game, like flying. Obviously, it adds flying to the game. But think about what flying removes from the game.
So I have to ask you a question. Do you like flying in MMOs or do you not like flying in MMOs?
No, I despise flying in MMOs. I hate it with my entire heart.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And it's not the flying bit. It's the fact that you go up in the air and then you get to skip the entire world to go to the place. So we were talking about this earlier with the whole, you have to go out into the open world to, go to the Mythic Plus. Yeah. Well, you fly over the whole world to the Mythic Plus. So you're not really in the world. You're just flying to the location that you need to be in. Now, I get what a lot of people say here. They go, well, the world isn't interesting. It's like, yeah, but that's a failure on the development side.
Yeah, exactly. The world should be interesting to kind of just like navigate and spend time in. And if it's not, then there's definitely a problem with the game. And I think that when they first announced Dragonriding, the reason I was super excited was like, can they make this just actually replace traditional riding? And then, of course, everybody goes like, I have like my fucking 500 mount collection. It's like, dude, I could have 1,000 mounts. I'd still rather them like do a good traversal system than be worried about whether or not I can swim in the air. Like
you can. So here's what people don't seem to understand. You could bring out a dragon riding system for different classes of mounts. So all your horse mounts, for example, have their own horse riding system. Yeah. And this is, say, for example,
that's what Guild Wars. That's what Guild Wars 2 does, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have, for example, all your horse mounts are ground riding systems. So these are systems where even ground riding isn't just the case of pressing the W and going in whatever fucking direction you're going in. But there's a level of sort of style required and content required. So if someone wants to get from point A to point B, they use the taxi system in the game. But if if you want to go on a mount from one place to the other, it's an actual gameplay experience. Yeah. There's gameplay involved in going from one place to the other. It's not just hit auto run and go grab a cup of coffee because your mount's going to fly there and it's going to take maybe 10 minutes to get there. That's not how games are supposed to be designed, in my opinion.
One of the hopes that I have for the Dragonriding system is that it becomes faster than regular flying. So it's like there's an incentive for you to actually use Dragonriding. And another thing that bothers me is like, why can't they just implement this for all previous expansions? Just let people Dragon ride through other places. Like, what's the big deal?
I think Ian has kind of spoken about this. So first and foremost, you are going to go significantly faster than a normal mount. So the Dragon at max speed, I heard a rumor, is about twice the speed of normal flying.
Good.
And it can actually go even higher than that.
Good.
So if you do a proper dive off of a high enough perch, your dragon will go really fast, really, really fast. So that's already there, and I love that idea. Now, Ian did say that Dragonriding for now is an expansion-specific system.
Yeah, it's just for Dragonflight.
Yeah, I think this is their test phase. So they are basically going to use this. I hope that's the truth. But they're going to use this as a way to iron out the wrinkles. Because if they immediately just slapped on Dragonflight for all previous expansions, and it is a broken system, can you imagine the outrage from people who just want to get to their dungeon to do their transmog, but now they have to deal with this wonky, broken-ass fucking Dragonriding system?
Why can't they just use traditional riding? They can just go back to flying regularly, even if they don't like Dragonriding. Because it wouldn't stop them from flying in the old world. You just can't fly in Dragonflight. You have to deal with the Dragonriding system in Dragonflight. But it's like in the old world, you can use old, but just enable it is what I was thinking. Because again, at the end of the day, I just wanted to have like a better traversal system than regular flight. Because regular flight is boring. I don't care how many people are like, oh, but my 500 I don't give a fuck, okay? Because it's not fun. Flying is just not fun, and it skips, like you said, it skips content. Like there's stuff that happens. Like I can even speak of this for when I was leveling through Endwalker. Like, it was really cool going through the ground because at the start, you don't have flight. So going through the ground and you'd encounter other players and you'd see like, okay, this guy's struggling to deal with this mob, and you go in and you help. And like, there's actual interactions within the community. And then the moment everybody unlocked flying, it's like, well, yeah, every now and then people help each other out if somebody asks for help. But there's no longer that, oh, I found this player who was having a tough time with this and I helped them out. That just doesn't happen anymore because everybody goes A to B, do my thing, leave. A to B, do my thing, and leave. And it's not cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you, which is why I hate flying in video games so much, because I feel like flying serves sort of two bad purposes. One, it allows you to skip the world. Two, because it allows you to skip the world, the developers aren't forced to make the world all that interesting.
Yeah.
Because they know people will eventually just skip the whole world. Now, Ian did say that they now have an entire dedicated team designing outworld content. So outdoor content is now becoming a real focus for Blizzard. They're going to put in things for the Dragonriding, where you can fly races with the Dragonriding. They're going to put in jumping puzzles. They're going to put in like mob spawns that maybe kill 100 of these things as they're rushing towards a point, stuff like that. So they're really taking a new approach at making the world sort of its own character, which if Ian and his team could play one game, and I don't know if have you played Cyberpunk?
No. You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah, sure.
I asked for a code for Cyberpunk.
Uh-huh.
And they said they were going to send it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it got here, I think, a month after release.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? That actually worked in my favor because now I don't have to feel like I need to cover it because I don't want to cover it. So I basically got the game for free, never even played it.
I would say don't play it to cover it.
Yes.
The game is a hell of a lot better than what it was at launch. Like they have stuck to their promise of basically fixing all of the problems in the game. There's still minor issues here and there that they're going to need bigger content patches for. and there is 2 expansions at least planned for it. So I'm assuming that will fix a lot of the issues, because they did actually say that the first expansion adds a whole new story, but then also changes quite a lot in the base story. So they are sort of retroactively going to change a lot of the base story and choices. But there's something special about Cyberpunk that a lot of people overlook. The world, the city itself. That city is its own character. The main antagonist of Cyberpunk 2077 is Night City. There's no real boss that you're supposed to be worried about. The city is the antagonist. The enemy is the city. Everyone loses. No one wins against the city. You drive through that city and you can see the desperate areas where people are being shat on by the corporations. And you can see how the people who work for the corporations live. And they're so high and mighty. Their streets are clean. There's no graffiti anywhere. And then you drive into one of the downtown areas and it's just fucked and poverty-ridden. And you can see that these people don't give a shit. There's little side missions that give you information about... so they have this thing in Night City. This broke my brain. And you have to play it to experience it. But they have, in Cyberpunk, in the Night City, they have insurance for manslaughter. So if you drove and you were drunk and you hit someone and you killed them and you're a corporate, so you work for the corporations, your insurance will pay out to the family of the one who died, and you then don't go to jail. The police don't even do anything because your insurance paid out. That's it. Because it's all about the money. Yeah, it's literally, it defends you against manslaughter. So if you were drunk driving and you killed someone, you find this out during a mission, a side mission, where they sent you to be the exactor of revenge, right? So you're going to deal out the justice that the justice system doesn't want to dish out, because according to them, the insurance paid out the claim. You know, the family got a small stipend for their daughter dying. Their 12-year-old was killed one night during a drunk driving thing. And the insurance paid out a couple of thousand eddies, and it's done. The police didn't investigate because the insurance paid out. The matter is settled. Small little things like that put you in this world, and you just go, bro, this is so fucked up. Like, this world is so fucked.
The problem... The problem with something like that becomes, how do you convey that through World of Warcraft questing, right? Because you're talking about Cyberpunk, you have this big narrative going on, and it's very hard for them to convey that through like the text of, you know, a quest that most people are going to skip to begin with. It's like, I don't know exactly how they can solve that.
So the quest bit that I spoke there is a bit of a side thing. It's just cool. So it's really nice to see stuff like that. But what I'm talking more about is the functionality and the visualization of the world. The fact that in that world, you're in that world, right? So you have to go around and you drive around and you're in this city. It's a living, breathing city where cars are driving around you. There's peak traffic. So when it's peak traffic, the fucking roads are chock and block full of cars. And then there's midnight where there's no cars almost on the road and there's no people on the streets. So it's sort of, the world itself tells a story. When's the last time World of Warcraft's world actually did this? You know, think playing through Shadowlands. You finish everything in Bastion, right? You finish the entire story of Bastion. Yet nothing in Bastion actually changes.
Yep.
Like, the world does not adapt to the story being told.
Not only that, but like, unless you play the Covenant of Bastion, you don't even get to see the transition of one of the main characters, which is Davos, I think. She shows up in the Uther cinematic. You don't even see her transition into going evil. You just then you go to the dungeon, whatever the dungeon is, I forget the name, and it's like, oh, she's evil now. And then 2 weeks later, you do the Bastion quest that shows her becoming evil, and you're just like,
dude, what the hell?
Not even you have any respect for your own story. Why should anybody else? I mean, come on.
It's annoying. And again, this is where I know people get really frustrated whenever content creators sort of compare World of Warcraft to Final Fantasy XIV. But Final Fantasy XIV, when you're doing quests in an area, there is a marked change in that area. The bee stripes, for example, almost all of them, at least the ones that I've done so far, the bee stripe
area
quests
changes, yeah.
Yeah, the area physically undergoes a change. Almost every single expansion tends to have a zone that has to be built up over the course of the expansion, and through you doing things in that zone, you contribute to the building up of this place, this city, or this town that has to be rebuilt.
I mean, the recent housing district that got added was basically, supposedly fixed by players by doing multiple quests over the...
Yeah.
And people would meet... They've always met the objectives of those quests. I'm curious as to what have happened if we hadn't met those objectives, but they've been met on every server because everybody used the thing to level their crafters. So, yeah. So the Ishgard housing thing was built by players, kinda.
Yes. Players, part of your max level questing, specifically for crafters. So this is also something that Final Fantasy does that I wish Blizzard will do in Dragonflight, is turn professions into its own thing, into its own play style. Because that's what Final Fantasy has, right? Its professions is a literal job.
Yep.
So they call their classes jobs. It is its own job, right? Like you're not a black mage that also has weaving. You're a weaver. So you switch to weaver, and now you have an entire quest line and an entire gameplay system purely around being a weaver. And that's what you're doing now. And we need that. So this is where we get back to that discussion of, if you're making a game like World of Warcraft, you have to look at every single one of your systems and say, right, what is this system adding to the game? And what is this system taking away from the game? For too long now, World of Warcraft have kind of treated every single one of their systems, except for the Mythic Plus system, the raiding system, and the PvP system, as almost just whatever. We have flying, so we have flying. That's going to be in the game. We're not even going to think about an interesting way to unlock flying. You just have flying. It's part of a fucking quest chain that you'll eventually do. It's time gated as fuck. Who cares? And
it's probably going to be boring too. Grinding flying, it never seems fun, because ever since
it isn't.
Cataclysm, I've never had flight in the game, because I never unlock flying, because I'm just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not willing to do things that I don't think are fun. Like, for instance, I've played 2,600 hours of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Yeah. And if you were asking me, did you get all the golden crowns? No, because I thought it was boring. Golden crowns is like hunting the same monster over and over until you randomly get a version of the monster that's really big. And then when you kill that, you get a golden crown for that monster. It's like, oh, this one's really big. And the same thing for when it's really small. And it's just like, I'm not going to hunt the same monster 300 times until I get a random one that's going to be big and a random one is going to be small, because that's not fun. I'd rather hunt something that is fun, or that I'm crafting gear for, whatever. And so, I don't do things that I find boring.
I'm right there with you. The only reason I've always been able to unlock flying is because a lot of the flying is tied to the story and sort of doing every single quest in every single zone and exploring every single zone. And since that's sort of what I do naturally, it wasn't too hard to ever unlock flying for me. But it's still boring. Like, it's not really, it doesn't really invite you, at least with Final Fantasy. So I don't think flying in Final Fantasy is any better, just to be clear. I don't think Final Fantasy does flying very well.
No. But the thing is,
its unlock is better.
Yeah, it's like, when you can unlock it, that all you got to do is like, okay, go get these things, and then you can get it, and boom, done. And it's not a long, tedious quest line, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it, because I'd get bored too fast. So it's just like, do the quest that you got to do, the main quest of the area, finish the area, and then just look for a couple of things in the map, and you're done.
I mean, you can literally, so those things are usually tied to the MSQ.
Yeah.
Like, you when you're doing a quest in a certain area, there's a good chance that there is one of the ether currents close to that location. Some of them's a little bit off the beaten path, but it does take you through the zone, so you get to see the whole zone on your mount.
But it's like, even for the ones that are off the beaten path, they give you the thing to find them. So there's a specific,
you
use the compass and it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
this way, and you go and you find them.
Exactly. And the compass is also a little bit like it doesn't give you an exact location.
Yeah,
it tells you north, northeast, south, southeast, you know, it tells you the direction.
It has you navigating the world a little bit. Yeah, I think it's cool.
Exactly. Which is, at least in terms of unlocking it, kind of a cool thing. But once it's unlocked, it again becomes a very sort of subtractive system where it is subtracting more from the world than what it is actively adding to the world. Now, luckily for Final Fantasy XIV, since it has so much content that actually does add to the game, one subtractive system doesn't break it. Whereas in World of Warcraft, when the entire game is built around Mythic Plus, raiding, and PvP, and all of those are instanced pieces of content, when you have one system that basically nullifies the entirety of the open world, well, you've now just killed the game. What game? You may as well now make this. I'm trying to think. I once played a game. I don't know what the game is called. It may actually be Monster Hunter, FYI. But I have a PlayStation 4. I don't know why I have the fucking thing. I'm not even a gamer, a console gamer, but I have the PlayStation. Oh, I bought it because I wanted to play God of War, and then God of War came to PC, and I was like, well, fuck that. I'll just play it on PC anyway. But so I have a PlayStation 4, and one of the games that's free on the PlayStation 4, you have this, so you get missions to go kill things with like giant swords and crap, and it's like you and 5 players, and you have this flying ship. So you fly and then you jump down and then you run to where the monster is, kill the monster, go back to town, and then just rinse and repeat. That's basically the game.
On a flying ship? That does not sound like Monster Hunter. Because that sounds like high tech, right?
Yeah, not high tech. It's more like Magitech almost kind of thing. Dauntless.
Dauntless. Okay, yeah. Dauntless. Dauntless is on PC as well, though. Dauntless is pretty much like free-to-play Monster Hunter. A lot of people call it Monster Hunter Lite, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw it and I tried it out for a bit. And you know, that's sort of the only thing that I know about it. But you know, the thing that I have there is that's what you turn an MMO into when you're effectively just when you give them flying and everything else is instant.
Yeah.
Because that game has no open world. It literally is just the city, pick up a quest to go kill a monster, go on the boat takes you to the monster, you jump off, you kill the monster, and then you go back. That's the rinse and repeat content. Now, I realize for people,
that's fair,
something they love.
Final Fantasy XIV hasn't really solved that problem, in my opinion. Like, the world after you've done the MSQ, sure, there's reasons to go back, like if you're doing crafting and stuff and if you want to do mining and whatnot, but for combat, most of the time you're also just queuing into things and going off. Because like, I'm sure that people told you about Rurikhan and Bosja. Those are instanced areas. They're just really big instanced areas that can support, I don't know how many players, but it's much more than a regular raid, right? But there's still instanced areas that you go into and there's events and stuff, and they're big, but they're not necessarily the open world.
Yeah, but this is again where I think so Final Fantasy sort of took a different approach to this. They basically gave you so much instance content that, and also the way their world works, it's sort of like the world is also kind of instanced, you know, because you zone into an area and then you have to load screen into another area. So the game is sort of just a collection of instanced areas that you play in. So it sort of solves that issue, but it sort of masks the major issue by purely giving you so much instance content that you want to do that the flying really is a minor part of that. Yeah. And it does do a decent job with treasure hunts and also with monster hunting. They call it something. The Final Fantasy people have a name for it. The hunt trains, that's the one. Yes. That actually does put people in the open world and people are doing things together. And it's very interesting how that just magically evolved to be, you don't just go and you kill it with a bunch of your friends. You join the monsters, the hunt train, and you wait for people to go to start the hunt train, and then it starts, everyone goes, and you just kill a bunch of bosses.
it's kind of like the same thing in places like Eureka, for instance, where whenever a fate pops up, which is like a notorious monster spawns, people don't just like, okay, monster's here, let's go kill it. Everybody just, they shout in chat in the instance. They're like, anybody on the way? Because people might be farming some other things. Anybody coming? Okay, we're pulling at 27 because there's a timer through which the boss lasts. And then people pull and everybody will be there to kind of like gain credit for the kill. But yeah, the community kind of organizes itself very well with that stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a much deeper sense of respect in Final Fantasy amongst the community members. And I'm not entirely sure where that comes from. Because in WoW, that does not exist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that a big part of it is also, I mean, it's not just this, but there's also a big part of the fact that, for instance, you know when Asmongold started playing 14, right? A bunch of people were just spamming him with big obnoxious mounts, blocking NPCs and whatnot. He reported them, they were gone.
Yeah.
They were gone. It's just like, yeah, you're banned. For like the 24-hour ban. And people are like, why did I get a 24-hour ban? I was just hanging out in my mount. And it's like, shut the fuck. You know exactly what you were doing. Don't be a little bitch. Take your ban. You did what you did, and now you have to deal with the consequences.
Exactly.
But, so there's a part that's like that, right? Where people, they're kind of scared because they actually police this community. They actually take action. Whereas in Blizzard, they banned the /spit emote before they banned the N-word. Like what?
I mean, the N-word is still, I actually had someone email me the other day with a screenshot of someone calling them the N-word. And they reported the person. And then a week later, they screenshotted it again. The dates are there. Screenshot again.
Oh,
this guy's still in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck. Like, if you're using the N-word, to my mind, that's an insta-perma ban. That's just because you can't say I typed it by accident.
Oops.
Like,
I was accidentally racist.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having an epic gamer moment, like PewDiePie, for example, you're fighting someone, you're shooting at them, and then you say the N-word, someone could perhaps make the argument that, you know, you were in the heat of the moment and you said it, even though I guess maybe growing up South African, that word, I've never known that word. So for me, that word wouldn't even come to mind. But I could see you trying to make a case for that. But when you're physically typing it out, there's like a bunch of letters that you're typing and you're hitting enter.
And
That's not a heat of the moment thing.
And not only typing it out once, but like coming back a week later, doing it again.
Exactly.
And still not being banned. It's like, that's friggin' impressive.
I want to ask you something. What do you think of the social contract in World of Warcraft?
Oh, God. So it's like, let's put it like this. If I was actively playing World of Warcraft, looking at the social contract, I wouldn't care about the social contract. It doesn't bother me. What bothers me, and I've made a tweet about this morning, what bothers me is that this is Blizzard projecting their own flaws onto their player base. And it's like, what the hell do you mean? You're the ones that can't even keep the breast milk safe, and yet I'm the one that's being painted as being abusive? Like, get your own house in order. It's incredibly hypocritical what they're doing. And as someone pointed out after my tweet, they said, and they don't even actively enforce these policies in their game. Yeah. So they're the ones who fostered this type of environment in their video game. It's almost more of a thing like, how dare you tell me to behave? You're the ones who keep me. It's like I said earlier, it's like me going to your house, taking a dump on your living room, and then telling you, Accolon, why can't you just behave, man? Like, what's wrong with you?
Or you take a dump in my living room, and then you give me a social contract.
Yeah,
saying,
exactly. Hey, giving you a social.
It's not okay to take a dump in someone's living room. It's like, yeah, I know. I was not happy with it right from the fucking start. But anyways, thanks for putting it in writing, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that I have, so. People miss it because I also tweeted about the social contract and saying that it's stupid, and people were like, oh, you just want a reason to be toxic. So first and foremost, I've never been banned from a video game for toxicity. I've never even been reported for toxicity in a video game. And I played League for about 9 years. So
now that's an achievement.
I have been through the salt mines, and I've never been banned for it because I'm not a toxic guy. If I'm toxic to someone, actually, that's a lie. I am toxic, but I'll be toxic to your face. I'll be toxic in live stream.
Yeah.
I don't see the point. I don't type fast enough to be toxic in chat. It's just going to be too fucking boring for me to write, your mother is this, that, or the other. So I just leave it. I just go, yeah, fuck it. Who cares, right? Because I'm literally still one of those boomer guys that I type with these 2 fingers. That's it. I can't do the whole hand thing. Can't do the whole hand thing. I don't know. I don't know how people type with their whole hand. I type with 2 fingers. I type fast, I think, for someone that types with these 2 fingers. Because I write scripts, and it takes me like 10 pages of script. Takes me about 2 hours to write.
I am extremely jealous. I suck at writing. I'm so bad at writing. I hate writing scripts. It takes me forever. But
I enjoy writing them. But anyways, the point that I was trying to make. Sorry, no, go. Yeah,
I was just gonna say that I do have a confession. I've been perma-banned from the WoW forums twice.
Wow. I mean, that's not. I don't really an achievement. They ban a lot of people from there for just being critical of the game.
The achievement was that I'm still not perma-banned today. So I've been perma-banned twice, and I'm still not perma-banned today. It's weird, isn't it? But it's like it was mostly because I was really frustrated. Like I said, I used to talk a lot about Death Knights being overpowered and warriors and whatnot. And there you go. And they banned me because of that. I might have been a little bit too passionate. I still didn't say the N word.
Yeah,
sure.
But okay, so here's my problem with the social contract. Yeah, all of those rules are in the TOS already. It's in terms of service. If you go to conduct in terms of service, it outlines all of the things in the social contract.
Yeah.
So the social contract is, by and large, a redundant document because it basically just regurgitates what is already within the terms of service of World of Warcraft. The issue has never been that people didn't know that they're not supposed to be dicks to each other. It's enforcement.
Yeah.
When people are dicks, it's not enforced. So just having more rules, this is to me a prime example of virtue signaling.
Could it be them like giving you a warning? Like, hey, listen, we're going to start enforcing these. Could it be that? Because they didn't say anything like that to that, at least to my knowledge, they didn't say anything that we're going to start cracking down on these rules. There's like, here's a social contract.
I mean, if that's the case, but this is where Blizzard again, if they could just speak to us, like normal fucking beings, like saying, look, guys, we don't expect the social contract to magically fix things. The reason we're putting the social contract there is because we are actively now going to stop banning fuckers who's being toxic little assholes in the game. But we want to make sure that they know it. This is why we're giving them this updated social contract, to make sure that no one can say, well, I didn't know. You have to accept this before you can log in. So we're making sure that people know what the fuck's going on before we stop banning them left, right, and center. I would probably be like, all right, let's see. I can accept that. Let's see. The issue is it's been against the rules to be a dick to people for a long time. Like, toxicity isn't allowed in World of Warcraft to begin with. The TOS says that you have to treat other players with respect. And yet, it's not enforced. The issue isn't rules. It's sort of like whenever I listen to government. So I always use this example. Every government in the world went through a period where it declared war on drugs, right? There's a war on drugs going on, and we're going to stop all drugs from being a thing in the world. And then you go to prisons. Prisons are literally the most well-guarded places on earth, and it is filled with fucking drugs. So if you can't even keep drugs out of prison, what fucking hope do you have of keeping drugs out of a country?
You want a real war on drugs? Legalize every drug and tax it. Boom, done. We won. It's that simple.
I am for the legalization of all drugs.
Just legalize everything. If somebody wants to wreck themselves with cocaine or whatever, let them.
Dude, but yeah, I agree.
There's more to be concerned with than that, to be honest.
I mean, it's not affecting me, right? If I don't want to use cocaine, I don't have to use cocaine, and it's like it doesn't matter. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you just because you have a rule that says you're not allowed to use drugs doesn't mean people aren't going to use drugs. The effectiveness of a rule is tied to its enforcement. Now, if you're banning drugs, there's literally no way to enforce that ban, which is why the rule is completely useless. It's a rule that keeps your police busy, But since there's so many people and not enough policemen, they can't fucking enforce the rule, which means the rule is literally a waste of time. That's what the problem is in World of Warcraft. It's not that there isn't the rules that you can't be a cunt. It's that no one does anything when you are a cunt. So players learn, hey, I can do this. I can get away with this. No one's going to do anything to me.
I can do whatever the hell I want. Yeah, and nobody's going to stop me.
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the social contract does lead to some people getting banned from the game. I doubt it, though. I doubt it.
Yeah.
They've had a long time to crack down on this stuff, and they haven't yet. So I don't know what's changed. Like, why would they? Why would they now?
That is the actual question. Why all of a sudden start saying it? It could be that they're turning over a new leaf, but to be honest, who the hell knows? I just think that we can't just like straight up say that everything that they're doing is great, because I feel that a lot of people are going that route. It's like, oh my God, everything's changing for the best. Everything's going to be amazing moving forward. Yeah. And it's like, that's how you get to a situation, I feel like, with the Shadowlands, which I almost feel like I might have influenced some people to get into Shadowlands. And I kind of regret, because I covered the game during Shadowlands and I talked about it and I had some fun with it. And it's too soon. It's like they need to show us rather than tell us. You need to actually show us what you're doing. We need to actually be able to, see the changes and see all of the stuff that they're changing with the expansion, see it working before we can actually be that positive, I feel.
I mean, I apologize to my community for the role that I played in convincing some people to pick up Shadowlands.
Pick up Shadowlands, yeah.
It looked like a decent expansion during beta. There were a lot of promise during beta, and then all of the promise got squandered. So I'm right there with you. I believe in keeping their feet to the fire. Now's the time for them to sort of step up and prove that they deserve the money that they want from us, right? I will say, I got a comment 2 days ago from someone on a video of mine. Now, you might want to brace yourself for this, because the stupidity in this comment is out of this world. The guy he starts off by saying, World of Warcraft isn't that bad. It has its problems, but it's not that bad. Instead of complaining the whole time, we should be grateful that we at least still have a game to play.
Oh my God.
If that's not Stockholm Syndrome or some shit, I don't know, man.
You should be grateful for paying taxes to your government, regardless if your government gives you any benefit for those taxes.
Yeah, at least you still have a government to take your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. I'm not entirely sure what the fuck to make of that comment. I genuinely just read the comment and I was like, I can't reply to this comment. I don't know, because if I reply to this comment, it's going to be, you're a fucking idiot. And I can't really write that in the comment section.
They're just too far gone, right? That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that. You have to be grateful that Blizzard is still taking your money for the game. Even though the game isn't perfect, stop complaining. It's almost as if this guy thinks if we complain too much, Blizzard might shut down the game. So he's like, don't say anything, guys. Just love the game. Yeah, I know you're not having fun, but shut the fuck up.
Just keep playing the game. Don't ruin it for the rest of us. And then you start wondering, who the hell are the rest of you? Unless you're a content creator, like why are so many people even? I just think that World of Warcraft is kind of like Asmongold said it. It's a 3D chat room essentially for a lot of people. Like they go there because they're friends. As a matter of fact, and before I got into the Shadowlands, I went to my good friend, old raid leader, and I was like, dude, you got a raiding spot for me? He's like, yeah, actually, yeah. I was like, okay, then I guess I'll buy Shadowlands. It's like, because if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have even gotten into Shadowlands. Because I'm not getting into Shadowlands just to play like world quests and whatnot. Because that's boring.
Mm-hmm. It is, and that's the problem. If you remove raiding and dungeons from the game, there's nothing to do. You compare that to literally almost every other MMO on the market. You remove dungeons and raiding, there's still a fuck ton of things to do.
So did you raid in Shadowlands?
No. I stopped raiding at the end of Legion. So basically, my guild, we were like, I guess let's say hardcore to semi-hardcore. We got to Argus Mythic, and me and my guild had a disagreement about how things should continue from there. I wanted to do a lockout because I wanted to get the fucking boss down, and everyone was already geared to shit.
Yeah.
And they wanted to keep clearing because I haven't quite gotten all my gear to the peak of Titan Forging. And I was like, well, okay, I can't do this. I want to kill bosses. I couldn't give a fuck about the gear. You guys clearly just want the shinies. Like, the purples is what gets you fucking chubbed.
Dude, that's one of the things that I'll never understand is, like, the amount of people that get into an MMO and what they want is the gear. Like, I've even had this discussion with people that talk to me about 14 in my stream. Yeah. They'll be like, oh man, I wish I was raiding Savage, but it's so hard that I don't really want to do it, but I'd love to get that gear. That gear looks so good. And I'm just like, why do you want the gear? You don't need it. Yeah. You only need the gear if you're doing the content. If you're not you really don't need, like, for instance, during Shadowbringers, I didn't raid hardcore because I didn't have like a static, and I don't want to do randoms in Party Finder. I'm not a big fan of doing that. Like, when I'm raiding, I need to have like a Discord environment where you're just like shooting the shit with people and you're making fun of each other while somebody fails and whatnot. And it's the whole, the usually camaraderie stuff. If I don't have that environment, I'm not interested. And in 14, one of the things that they do a lot is like they'll just have a macro. So you go into the raid, there's a macro, and it tells you the position where every person should be for every mechanic, and then you just pick, okay, I want to be M1 for melee 1, or I want to be MT for main tank, and then that tells you all of your positions, everything got to do. I look at those macros and I'm like, I don't understand anything that's in that thing. I'm too much of a boomer. I need to be talking to people to understand these mechanics, and I want to be insulting people when they fuck up because that's funny. That's what I want, right? So I didn't raid during Shadowbringers, and I didn't care about the Savage gear because it doesn't matter. I don't need it. I can clear all of the content with the gear that's available to me, so it's not a problem.
Exactly. So I think in some ways Final Fantasy does solve that issue, since gear in Final Fantasy is very much a tool to enable other content. So people approach gearing in Final Fantasy more as I need this item level to unlock the Ultima so that I can go do the Ultima raids or the ultimate raids.
The ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do the ultimate raids.
You need more than item level for that, though. You need to clear the Savage content.
Yeah. But what I meant was the gear only matters so that I can reach the minimum threshold for ultimate so that I can go do my ultimates eventually. The gear only matters because it may enable me to take down the next Savage bosses. But in World of Warcraft, it's almost as if the boss only matters because it can give me purple pixels.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. And I'm not saying Final Fantasy doesn't have players like that as well. It obviously does.
Of course it does, yeah.
I'm just saying World of Warcraft seems to incentivize this kind of playstyle where the gear is the end game content. Where it's almost like, but that's not actually how, like, the gear is supposed to enable the end game content. Like, you've completely flipped the script on what gear is meant to be.
It's like a lot of people see gear as a status symbol. Like, and I think that must have been a thing that came into being more with, like, when you were back in vanilla and people would do Molten Core and you'd see somebody with a Thunder Fury or what's the hand of whatever, the hammer, the Paladin hammer that shoots fireballs. So you people see other players with that and they're just like, oh my God, dude, look at that gear, so good. I need to have that. But then they think about it and it's like, oh, but that means that I have to go do this really challenging content, even though Molten Core was not super challenging, as we've proven nowadays. But it's like people just want to have it. They don't necessarily want to have it to use it. Because, like, what are you going to do? You're going to do heroics in your mythic gear? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to run heroics on mythic gear? Why? It's useless.
I mean, that's the issue, right? But that is a philosophical thing. That is basically down to how World of Warcraft designs their game. if you think about how difficult it is to get gear in World of Warcraft, like get your full business slot gear, it like what other game is that difficult? Final Fantasy, your gear is laid out for you.
Yep.
Like you go to the vendor, and it's the gear is the gear. There's no other gear that you can get but the gear on the vendor.
To give you an idea, I'm literally one piece away from Biss in my character in Final Fantasy. I've never been that close in World of Warcraft, and I've played way longer World of Warcraft than Final Fantasy, and I'm like one piece away from Biss. And it's like right now it's a 10 item level upgrade. That's it, because the stats are pretty much the same. So I'm like, I'm super close to Biss.
But you see, that's the thing, right? It's the gear is completely deterministic, and I realize that there's crafting pieces that give the same item level, and that's all fine. It serves a different purpose. I'm talking about even in crafting, it's deterministic gear. You know where the gear is, you know how to get it, and you can choose how you want to get it. Yeah. There's literally no questions being asked here. Versus WoW, where everything is on an RNG. If you don't get your RNG during the week for the stuff that you cleared, you can go to the vault for more RNG in the hope that thing gives you the gear that you actually want. So gear have become the end game. And all of this boils down to World of Warcraft's insistence on making engagement mechanics or the engagement metric the most important metric of the game. They want people to keep playing. And they've realized that by making gear the main focus of the game, it incentivizes people to keep playing. Because yes, I've cleared Mythic, but I didn't get all my pieces for that clear, which means I'm going to have to go back and clear it again and again and again. The perfect World of Warcraft for me, Mythic no longer drops any gear. Mythic's item level is designed and locked around max heroic gear. So heroic gear is what gets you into Mythic. You do Mythic, there's no gear, it's all cosmetic stuff. So it's all just
harder.
It's much harder, but it's balanced because you know that everyone's going to have an heroic item level going into Mythic. That would be the perfect World of Warcraft for me, because that thing turns Mythic raiding into, that's the content.
Yeah.
It's not what you get from the content. That is the content, and that's what you're working towards, is getting that content. And then bringing gear vendors back. So giving people a deterministic way, this is my best in slot, and I can buy all of it from the vendor. I know what it is. I feel like we were speaking about this actually yesterday. If you look at all the gear pieces available in World of Warcraft, how much of all the pieces right now in Shadowlands is actually viable pieces for you as a warrior?
It's a very small piece. I mean, for start, I don't even know if Protection Warriors are viable right now, because at the start of the expansion, they weren't at all. You couldn't even play a Protection Warrior if you wanted to. So there's that. But it's very little. It's very little. For even like here's the thing. It's not even just about what's viable for you as a Protection Warrior. Like, just look at it. What's viable for every single spec in the game, right?
Yeah.
And you probably come up with a number like, I don't know, maybe 70% of the gear is viable for every spec in the game. Why does the other 30% exist then? It's just trash. It's just garbage.
It literally is. It's meant to be, this does give me slight upgrade, but it's on my best in slot, so I have to keep playing so that I can eventually get my best in slot. Right? So if you're playing a warrior, there are maybe, let's say, 8 or 9 wrists in the entire game. Only one of those is your best in slot. The other 8 is useless. They're effectively there to remind you that you still haven't gotten your best in slot. It's like, okay, but why have all those pieces of gear then? Like, remove the other 8. Just have the one that is the best.
Not the other 8.
The one.
I think it'd be okay to have like 1 or 2 more in there. So that's like, I got this one. This one's not the best, whatever. But like, remove a significant chunk of them that you don't need. Because like, even in 14, like as I was going through the motions, I also got some pieces of gear that were not my best. They might have been the best for another class. I don't actually know. But it's like, okay, so I tell my raid leader, okay, so this is not my best, but it's like a temporary upgrade until I get there. So if you want to give it to me, whatever. Yeah. It's like we do Loot Master, which is something that you can't get in World of Warcraft.
Yep. That's a whole different discussion. That's a whole different discussion.
But yeah, it's like, I think it's okay to have a couple of pieces that are not, but there shouldn't be that many. You shouldn't be like repeatedly getting stuff that is not good for you. And on top of it, getting it and not being able to trade it away to somebody else that could get it and it could be better for them as well. So yeah, there's plenty of problems there for sure.
I would like to see, and this is something that we spoke about also last night during the Q&A, because someone asked me about gear. This is where this conversation actually started. If Blizzard wanted to stick with the sort of lots and lots of gear, sort of the Diablo style of looting, right? I want to see gear be designed for specific pieces of content. So you have dungeon gear, and then you have raid gear, you have your PvP gear, and then you have open world gear. And the way you incentivize this is through tier set bonuses. So why do we not have mythic level gear? So it has the same item level as mythic. It has the same basic stats as mythic, only it gives you upgrades in the open world. So it makes you run like 100% faster when you have this gear. And it lets you jump twice as high or 3 times as high as normal when you have let's say the boots and the pants together makes you really fast and also makes you jump really high. And that's purely for outdoor content. It does nothing inside instances. It is just for the open world. It's to have fun in the open world and have your own gear set within the open world. Dungeons have their own gear sets and Raid has its own gear sets. Make gear interesting at least, rather than having, like you said, 30% of the gear is complete trash for almost everyone. 70% of the gear has some utility for most people. And then of that 70, it's only about 50% that is the best in slot for all classes. So effectively, you have a game that's filled with uninteresting pieces of gear. You know?
Yep.
So yeah, that's... I mean, if we're going to go down the wish list of everything that I want to see in World of Warcraft, we'll be here for 6-7 hours.
No, but it's like, I do get it because of the fact that they do it like Diablo loot. It's kind of like they want that. And it's interesting because the more you look at Diablo, you can start drawing so many parallels towards the World of Warcraft. So the way that they're running Classic, for instance, which is kind of like ladders. And I kind of feel like MMOs were never designed to be like seasonal, like action RPGs. Like there needs to be some sense of permanence. Otherwise, what the hell is the point? But that's kind of what they're doing. They're like, oh, we'll just, we'll skin this kind of like a Diablo version of World of Warcraft, and it'll just, people will enjoy it. And that is weird. But yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. And that is also a part of a lot of other topics that I had planned for today that we did not get to at all. But I think I'm gonna call us here because probably people will not even watch too much longer past this point if they even get this far to begin with.
I mean, it's a long show.
You touched up on like Mythic Plus chests and stuff, and that is one thing that I want to go super deep into, but I don't want to do it 2 hours into a discussion because most people won't even watch it. But if you guys enjoyed the show, then leave it a like. Let us know, if you have topics that you'd like us to discuss. We were talking about potentially doing this more often, so we'll see how that goes. There'll be links to all of Accolon's stuff in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.